Hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach. I've been helping people for 40 plus years using the deep well of Murray Bowen family systems theory to help them to grow, to heal, to get unstuck, to solve their problems, and find a real sense of self, and also to do the work of self-differentiation. This video is the fifth in a series of 7. The 7 characteristics of a mature inner adult, as described by Jenny Brown in her book, Growing Yourself Up. And this one is entitled, Doesn't Expect to be Rescued by Others and Refrains from Taking Over for Others. Well, what does being rescued by others mean? It's being rescued by others is our neediness and underfunctioning, such as having others meet our emotional needs, self-image needs, dependency needs, to feel loved, to feel important, to feel valued, to not feel worthless, to not feel shame, to not feel guilt. And we rescue others to do that and to fix it. We use our lack of self-worth to get self-worth from others. And we do this because we don't feel these things about ourselves. And then secondly, taking over for others is the flip side of the coin. We take over for others so as to not deal with our issues. We become caretakers, codependents, and focus on others. And so what I'm talking about is overfunctioning and underfunctioning. And this is commonly referred to by Jenny Brown as a maturity detour. Instead of growing up, we take a detour to underfunctioning or overfunctioning, because these are maturity detours or immaturity detours. And this is why avoiding these can help us grow up. If we avoid under and over functioning and have an experience of a deeper sense of self. As tensions go up in a relationship, or problems go up, or stress goes up, or if they become more highly charged with emotionality, we will often revert back to our family role. We will shift back and forth between wanting to be rescued and wanting to take over for others. This happens in relationships in the workplace, at church, worship places, social organization, friendships, and marriages. When we take these maturity detours, it compromises the self for both parties. When I'm wanting to be rescued or taken care of, I lose self and try to borrow self from you. When I want to take over for others or caretake, I give away self to others and they gain some of our self. Both selves are compromised in some way, and we don't want to compromise the self. We want them to be a self and us to be a self. And if they're over-functioning or under-functioning, it will draw us into that systems dynamic that we need to balance it out. And that's a part of our immaturity. This sharing of self back and forth is a maturity detour. You borrow from me, I borrow from self from you. You give to me, I give to you. Now, this is not a give and take in a healthy way. This is not a give and take of things or warm regards or compliments, favors, or even love. This is a sharing of the self, and this is not healthy. We don't want to balance out, much like you would think about a relationship. Many people have said, well, they complete me. And the other party says, they complete me. When actually, it ends up being a 50-50 relationship. A half of a self and a half of a self equals a whole self. And in relationship systems, it doesn't. And when I talk about healthy relationships, I always tell them it's not 50-50 that's healthy. It's 100-100 that's healthy. And that's what makes relationships and helps relationships to work. But many marriages are based on this model of a 50-50 model. And then they share selves back and forth in the relationship. They give up some of their self to caretake. They take on someone else's self when they underfunction and those types of things. And the way we take on more self, for example, is if I'm caretaking you and I have a great deal of worthlessness, feeling worthless, and don't feel confident or caring about myself, then I will caretake for you so you will appreciate me, so now I will be a full self. And see, I've just borrowed self from you. But the problem is it's just borrowed. It can be lost just as easily. And we want to not lose those selves. We want to be our own self. Let me give you a couple of examples. A common one is going home for the holidays. You go home from the holidays, and what do many people, I've heard many, hundreds and hundreds of people say, I went to the holidays to be with my family, and I just felt like a little child. I felt like I was back in my family of origin again, playing the same roles, feeling the same insecurity, anxiety, and all of those things, and I just wasn't myself. When actually, we were ourselves. It was just our immature self that we have not grown up and helped to grow up yet. And so we give ourselves to the family super self. We go home, we play the roles, we are nice, we don't confront this, we don't talk about these issues, we don't have our own opinions, and so we give away some of ourself to get some of the family super self so that I can feel whole, because I'm not 100%. I'm 50, they're 50, and when you bring us together, we'll maybe try to come up with 100. And often it doesn't even come up to be 100. Another example is an enabler husband who, say, has an alcoholic wife. She trades self to her husband by being an under-functioning alcoholic, and the husband gains self by enabling or caretaking. So now we have a nice equilibrium and a nice homeostasis. It's just not a healthy homeostasis. And it's temporary. It won't last. It will always fall off the, I think of a ball and a board on top of it. We stand on top of it. Will always fall off one side or the other. A true self, a healthy self, a self-differentiated self doesn't fall off each side. Now, we may experience pressures in which we feel like we might, but a true self doesn't do that. And will be consistent, calm, mature, and detached in a healthy way while connected to other people. I think of myself when I was a codependent pastor, caretaking for everyone, and then I get self as a trade-off. They may underfunction, I'll overfunction, then I get self so I feel good about me by borrowing self from them as a caretaker. And they have their selves bolstered, or I trade mine for them so they feel better when they're being enabled. And it works very well. It's only temporary, and it's also problematic, and will also often fall apart. But again, the trading of selves and self, the trading back and forth of self and balancing that out, is done at my expense and at your expense when we trade selves. I hope you'll follow me and my videos and podcasts on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Also follow me on my podcast on Spotify, and all other major streaming apps have my podcast on them. You can either look up Jerry Wise or Not How But When. is the name of my show, or the podcast show on Spotify and all iTunes and other places. I have a workshop coming up on May 30th, 2020 for 4 hours. It's the first workshop I've done in many years. It'll be on Zoom. I hope you'll go to my website and sign up for the workshop. The sooner you sign up, the cheaper it is. May 30th, a Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to thank you today for watching, and have a great day. And be wise, my friends.